Look, for years we've been ripped off and taken advantage of by China and others, in all fairness, but
what's going to happen with the market, I can't tell you, but I can tell you our country has gotten a lot stronger. It'll be a country like no other. It'll be the most dominant country economically in the world.
Everyone knows Trump's tariffs are costing Americans billions. But here's what no one's talking about. While your grocery bill skyrockets and farmers lose their livelihoods, a select group of insiders is making a fortune behind closed doors. In this 60-second economy, a war is being waged on your wallet, and the winners have already been decided. I'm about to show you the 3 groups of power players who orchestrated this entire trade crisis, and how they're siphoning billions from American families into their own pockets. By the end of this video, you'll see why some of the loudest America First voices are secretly celebrating every time a new tariff is announced. Meet our first group of hidden winners, the protection racketeers. These aren't just companies. They're the ones who literally helped write the tariff policies through millions in strategic lobbying.
We'll start with some steel production names. UBS getting more bullish on Nucor and Steel Dynamics. The firm lifting ratings on those stocks from neutral to buy, and basically saying that they're looking at the sort of tariff landscape here. And they say that the tariff protection for U.S. steel and aluminum has exceeded our expectations, and that there's been a rally in the finished steel prices.
Take Nucor and U.S. Steel. Together, they spent over $8 million lobbying for trade protection right before the Section 232 tariffs were announced. Their CEO took home $15.5 million in 2019, a CEO to worker pay ratio of 177 to 1. But here's the outrageous part. These companies didn't just benefit from reduced competition, they actually raised their own prices by almost exactly the same amount as the tariff. Internal documents reveal the strategy. These tariffs are exactly what we needed to boost earnings. Let's publicly support them as protecting American workers.
And today we're standing up for the American worker, and we are finally putting America first.
Meanwhile, those protected workers saw virtually no wage increases. Whirlpool played the same game with washing machines. When they won their lobbying battle, prices for all machines, including American-made ones, jumped 12% overnight. As consumers paid hundreds more per appliance, Whirlpool's CEO compensation jumped to $17 million, a staggering 772 to 1 ratio compared to their average worker. The second group might be the most clever. I call them the tariff dodgers. While small businesses are stuck paying these taxes, sophisticated corporations have built a shadow system to avoid them entirely. Here's how it works. Chinese products facing 25% tariffs shipped to Vietnam or Mexico undergo minor changes and enter the U.S. tariff-free as Vietnamese or Mexican products. A Chinese-made sofa shipped 80% complete to Vietnam needs only final assembly to become a Vietnamese sofa, exempt from tariffs but still essentially made in China. The numbers are staggering. After tariffs hit Chinese aluminum, imports from Vietnam exploded by over 950%. Steel imports from Turkey surged 300% in just 3 months. What's shocking? Some of America's biggest retailers are masters of this game. Through complex arrangements, they maintain profits while publicly supporting American manufacturing. Industry reports suggest companies often publicly support tariffs while their supply chain teams develop strategies to minimize their impact, a standard business practice when navigating new trade policies. While tariffs have generated significant revenue, U.S. Census data indicates that the U.S. trade deficit with China decreased temporarily, but then shifted patterns, with increases in imports from countries like Vietnam, Mexico, and others offsetting some of these changes. This redistribution of trade flows suggests that supply chains have adapted to the new tariff environment. The third group of winners operates entirely in the shadows, the trade war industrial complex. Since tariffs began, an entire ecosystem of specialized law firms, customs brokers, and trade consultants has exploded, with profits directly tied to making the system as complicated as possible. Legal industry publications report significant growth in trade practices at major law firms following tariff implementation. Many firms have expanded their international trade departments and specialized services to help clients navigate the increasingly complex tariff landscape. These firms charge astonishing fees, often $100,000 or more for a single product line exclusion application. The more complex the system, the more companies need their services. But here's the truly corrupt part. The very people who designed these tariff policies in government now work for these firms, earning millions helping companies evade the very systems they created. Former trade officials frequently transition to private practice after government service, where their expertise becomes valuable to companies navigating the tariff system they once helped administer. This revolving door between government and private sector is a well-documented phenomenon in trade policy. A data analysis of tariff exclusions reveals something disturbing. Companies that hired these connected insiders had approval rates nearly 200% higher than those that didn't. Even more telling, companies that donated to certain political campaigns were 3 times more likely to receive tariff exclusions than those that didn't, regardless of the merit of their application. This revolving door has created the perfect profit machine. First design complicated tariffs while in government, then leave to help corporations navigate those same regulations for enormous fees. Why do many Americans still support these policies? By wrapping economic pain in patriotic language, architects of these tariffs have created a scenario where self-sacrifice feels like patriotism.
It's our declaration of economic independence. For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper.
When we interviewed people in communities hit hardest, we heard, "We need to stand up to China," or "short-term pain for long-term gain." The harsh reality? Years and hundreds of billions later, the manufacturing jobs promised haven't materialized. The trade deficit has grown larger. The only promises kept were to those hidden winners. So here's what's happening behind the America First rhetoric. A massive wealth transfer from everyday Americans to 3 sophisticated groups who've positioned themselves to profit regardless of whether the trade war succeeds. The bottom line? These tariffs have real-world consequences, and American families are paying the price. Was this the plan all along? That's the uncomfortable question no one wants to answer. The question isn't whether tariffs hurt Americans. We all know they do. The real question is, in a system where political insiders, powerful corporations, and connected legal firms are all making billions from policies supposedly designed to help the middle class, who's really looking out for you? If this video has opened your eyes to the hidden mechanics of the trade war, share it with someone who needs to see it. Hit subscribe for more investigations that reveal what's really happening behind the economic headlines. And tell me in the comments, had you realized who was really profiting from these tariffs? I read every comment.